Well, good afternoon. That I can actually stream. I know I haven't been streaming as much as I normally do, and I apologize, sort of, kind of. I mean, sorry, not sorry. I work, so I kind of fit it in when I have time to do so, and also got to fit in the when my roommate's not here, so I can just have like a little me time to actually stream. So yeah, so this is what I want to talk about today. I don't know if anybody has been following what's been going on my Facebook page, but as of recently, there seems to be a resurgence of sorts, on this whole atheism thing, about how atheists want to make it into, or certain atheists, I'd say like the atheist TMs, I call them, want to make it into, just merely a lack of belief. And so, hang on. Yeah, and that's been around for a while. And by the way, why does my avatar show up? Why is my avatar just a white circle? Anybody can figure this out. I don't use StreamYard that much. I generally use OBS. I'm just going for simplicity today because, well, it's my day off and I'm lazy. So, again, forgive me for not putting a lot of effort in this particular stream. Not the effort doesn't be needed because it just, again, I'm just going to be putting out this challenge. I don't expect anybody to take the challenge today. Maybe give it some time, but I want to put my challenge to new atheists. But in the interim, why am I just having a white circle here? It doesn't show my normal avatar. It shows the avatar in StreamYards, but it doesn't show my avatar on the stream. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Again, whatever. Just my OCD acting up, which I don't actually have. But if I did, that's what OCD would be like. All right. So let me get started on my challenge here. So, I had been recently removed from another Facebook group by a little power hungry mod. Now, I'm not holding the admin accountable. The admin's actually pretty cool, and he's looking into things. So I'm not saying as a whole that the particular group, which I'm not going to get into, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to slight the group, but as a whole, there's always going to be one moderator that just seems to be out of power trip. And of course, I was very civil. I was just like, hey, look, you're saying this, and I just like to know what you're trying to argue here. And then somebody stepped in and they actually said to the person something along the lines of, hey, look, there's a lot of people who deserve to be muted in this particular group. Steve is not one of them. Steve has always been, polite. Steve has, always argued the topics, always gives reasons for things. And guess what that moderated to that person? Yeah, they muted them. So and that person is actually a full-on lawyer and pretty intelligent. We disagree on a few things, but they were able to articulate their arguments. And I'm like, look, this is what destroys these types of groups, right? I mean, you have some kind of group out there that wants to have a free exchange of ideas, and yet you have somebody that just silences them using moderation tools because they don't know how to articulate a cogent or coherent response. That to me is how groups die. Now, again, the Great Debate community is not a large group on the Facebook. It has less than 1,000 members. It's pushing about 1,000. But, most of the dialogue we have in there is very, very good. A lot of you are in that particular Facebook group. And so we don't allow things like argumentium ad meme. We don't allow fallacious argumentation. We don't allow people to just assert things without any kind of evidence or reason or logical argumentation. And I think that's the big difference, right? I think that's when you look at the Great Debate community and say, oh, hey, look, this is full of educated people that can articulate things and see how they handle disagreements. It's a lot different than the other groups. I mean, I have people that disagree with me all the time in that group. I'm talking to a friend of mine who disagrees with me quite frequently. I think we probably agree on 95% of the stuff, which is like Stephen Hoyt. He is well knowledgeable on epistemology. I do think he's a bit of contrarian, but he doesn't think so. But when we don't agree on something, we just talk it out. And sometimes we go, oh, I see your point, and I agree with you. He's changed my mind before. I've changed his mind before. Just the other day, we were talking about some kind of syllogism stuff, and we started getting into moods and different types of syllogism. And I said, hey, this syllogism, I believe is AAA1, Barbaros, and we went back and forth, and he was like, oh yeah, because he was saying it was invalid. I'm like, no, this is always objectively valid. And so we're trying to get into what syllogisms are valid and it's not. And again, a lot of people don't use this stuff frequently, so it's not something that's on the top of our head, right? So we have to go look and go, oh, okay, which is the case, right? So it doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree. It's how you articulate these types of positions and how you articulate your rejoinders. And so in this particular group, my rejoinders were pretty well thought out. But I also made comment on what I thought were certain peoples that did not have the experience, I guess you would say, to make the claims that they were making. And so, yes, I do consider certain people inept on topics if they're just pulling it out their ass, right? I mean, if you start having a conversation about biology and you start, saying some weird stuff like, there's no such thing as speciation, I'm going to kind of wonder what you know about speciation, right? You don't have to be a professional biologist to have some understanding of the topics. And by the way, I am watching the live chat. Welcome all. Hey, Trolley Dave. Hey, Godless Scummer. How did Jeff get a mod here? He got a mod wrench. See that? Jeff is modded. That's scary. And it's Frida. Good to see you. Glad to keep you awake. And everybody else. So let me just dive into the challenge here. Because like I said, I don't expect anybody to take it. I had one person that said, yeah, this sounds interesting. Maybe I'll take it. When can we do it? I said, I'm going live in 30 minutes. Like, I can't do it. So it's like, okay, whatever. But so what I wrote in the video description was this. I said, fun fact, not believing in God does not logically necessitate that one is an atheist. Anyone who says otherwise is misleading you, incorrect, ill-informed, and probably has never read an academic literature, any academic literature on atheism or atheology. And what I really mean by this is that in all these groups, people are they argue these things to me, but they never have any actual academic citations for it. They'll throw out a dictionary as Charlie Dave's seen a million times. Oh, here's a dictionary. Look, if you're going to argue from a dictionary, you're not going to argue effectively, because that's not an argument. Dictionaries describe, they do not prescribe. And so if you say, here's the dictionary, it's just describing something. Yeah, sure, it's describing something. It's a necessary condition. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a sufficient condition. If I want to describe squares as a polygon that has 4 sides, that's an accurate description. It is a necessary condition that squares have 4 sides. But when anybody argue that's a sufficient condition, probably not, because clearly it's not, because there's all types of 4-sided polygons that are not squares, right? So just because thing has 4 sides, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is a square. But that definition still describes a square. A square has a polygon with 4 sides. Yeah, it still describes it. So they try to argue that theist and not theist are such a dichotomy and so mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive that if you're not a theist, you're an atheist. We all know this is wrong, right? You guys all know this. So I'm not going to try to, convince you of that, because you're already convinced of it. But what I was wanting from the new atheist is I want an actual basic logic. I mean, I don't want to get into first order logic because I want to be able to understand it. First foil still confuses me, even though I know a little bit. But basically, I want a basic, very simple argument from first principles that you can argue that atheism and theism is a natural logical dichotomy that is both mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. That if you are not a theist, it is by some metaphysical or logical necessity. Well, all logical necessities are metaphysical necessities, right? But not all metaphysical necessities are logical necessities, right? Yeah, have to think about that. Is that right, Dave? Yeah, that makes sense. All logical necessities are also metaphysical necessities, but not all metaphysical necessities are logical necessities. That sounds right to me. So I want them to prove to me that there's some kind of metaphysical or logical necessity. Either one's fine. That if you are not an atheist, you must be a theist. And I don't mean merely by some stipulative arbitrary definition that describes, because that's not an argument. You can prescribe anything. I can say, I prescribe all circles now to be round. Okay, that's stipulative. As a proposition, I think that fails, obviously. And by the way, this is the conversation I'm having right now with Stephen Hoyt. He's like, well, if it's prescribed, it can't be truth apt. And I'm like, well, ostensibly it can. If I prescribe all circles or all squares to have all squares to be round, then sure, prescriptively, that is just a statement that is saying something to be the case. But I can easily say that is also a proposition that has the ability to be true or false. He thinks that's equivocating. I don't think so, but I'm willing to listen on it. What do you guys think, Trolley Dave? Do you think that I'm equivocating? Because I don't think I am. I think that any prescription, while it holds as a stipulation, you still ostensibly can say, oh, as a proposition that clearly is false. But I mean, I could take it as a stipulation for arguendo's sake. So, but then I go on to say, if they cannot logically prove to you their argument, then they're ignorant and dishonest. Because I hate new atheists who just say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. They never give any reason. I find it to be ignorant. I find it to be dishonest. And I find it to be demeaning to those who actually go out and want to read the literature and those who want to invest their time in learning about atheology, because I find atheology to be fascinating. I have a real interest in atheology. So, and I say stick with people that prove evidence, I should say prove with evidence, actual academic citations, and explain basic logic effectively enough to show why theism and atheism are not a natural binary dichotomy, mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. That is a fact of logic, and logic is objective. Again, I think that it is something that can be shown to anybody that using first principles, you can only get to things like theist or not theist, atheist or not atheist, apple or not apple. This is simple because you just start off with the law of negation. A or not A is always true. And you just instantiate A with anything you want, right? Car or not car, duck or not duck. Whatever you stick in A, you stick in not A. That's it. You can't go duck or cow. Well, I mean cow to mean duck. Well, that's the problem there, because now you're just using a different symbol, a moniker, or a signifier or word to mean something else. Now, I mean, sure, there's semantic content to do that. I mean, if I say cat or not gato, yeah, semantically they mean the same thing because gato is Spanish for cat, but the word itself, gato, is not the same symbol as cat. So I mean, I think that when you instantiate something, you should keep the same symbology, right? So it's cat or not cat. It's not cat or not gato, even though the semantic content is the same. That's just so I think. Again, what are you guys' view on that? Do you think it's fine to say cat or not gato? No, because what you're instantiating A with is still the symbol. The symbol has to be the same thing, right? The moniker has to be the same thing, cat or not cat. I think when you start changing things like cat or not gato, even though they semantically represent the same thing, they're not the same symbol, and they both don't instantiate the same. Again, this is how I'm looking at logic. And yes, I'm having coffee. So I go on to say, anyone who could prove me wrong on this, I'll donate $100 to the charity of their choice if they go live with me one-on-one to discuss on my channel. If they prove me wrong, they donate $10 to the charity of my choice. 10 to 1 odds I'm giving here who's up for the challenge. So, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, $100 to the charity of their choice, because I believe in charities. My charity probably be Wounded Warrior Project. I have a lot of respect for the Wounded Warrior Project. And all they have to do is just, come up with a good argument to say, look, this is a metaphysical necessity. You must be one or the other. And my counter, real quick, I mean, I would tell people my approach is that these are not some kind of rigid designators. It doesn't have to be the case in all possible worlds where if you're atheist, not atheist, you're a theist. It's just no logical entailment there that in all possible worlds, that must be the case. Right? Now, in all possible worlds, it is the case that you're a theist or not a theist. Why? Because that is a binary dichotomy, which is redundant because they mean the same thing. All dichotomies are binary. I get it. But that is a metaphysical necessity, right? Because that's set theory. If you are not in the set of A, you're in the set of not A. Simple as that. But the way these atheists want to come and approach it is if you're not in the set of A, you're in B. Well, no, that requires a little bit more argumentation to define what B is. And I don't think they can get there from first principles without some kind of arbitrary substitution, right? Because I could just say either theist or dog, not theist, therefore you're a dog. Okay, that's logically valid. It's a disjunctive syllogism. But is it metaphysically true? Of course not, right? Because we all know that you can be something other than a theist or a dog. So in all possible worlds, that doesn't hold. Even if prescribe it prescriptively as a stipulation, it just doesn't hold in all possible worlds. And then I say, FYI, atheism and theism are contradictories, such that if one is true, the other is necessarily false. Both cannot be true and both cannot be false. They are mutually exclusive, but not jointly exhaustive. And there's many citations for that. The easiest which would be read Graham Oppie. He argues the same thing. Burgess Jackson would argue the same thing. Dr. Demi would argue the same thing. So that's pretty standard in the literature. I don't see any real issues with that. Now, some people can argue they're not contradictories, but more contraries, but that's dealing more with the belief itself. The reason I would argue they're contradictories and not just contraries is that it's based upon the ontological status of God. If God does not exist, then atheism is true. If God does exist, theism is true. And God's existence is binary. It is the case that God exists, or it is not the case that God does not exist. Therefore, there's a nice little symmetry there, right? Hey, God exists, theists win. Oh, God does not exist, atheists win, right? One of them has to be true. One of them has to be right. And that's what I mean. That if there is a God, theism is true. That's how I'm using it, and that's the way you get the idea that they're contradictories, meaning they're both cannot be true. It cannot be true that both atheism and theism is true, because that would mean God exists and doesn't exist at the same time, which is clear contradiction. Oh, we got a backstage person. I'm sorry, I've been ignoring that. I apologize. I thought I put the link in. Welcome to the channel, Jeff.
Hello, been a long time, mate.
It
been
has
a long
been.
time.
I can still understand your accent. I'm so proud of myself.
Well, lucky for you, then, because I can't even understand my own accent. Yeah, I can't join for too long, mate, because it's gone 10 p.m. where I am, and I got to get up at like 5, so I can't stay too long.
What you got for me? What do you think about this? I mean, this is my challenge to new atheists out there. I don't expect a lot of them to take me up on it, but if they do, I'm happy they do, man. I really do want to see them put some thought into this, because I'm so tired of these new atheists in Facebook groups dumbing down, atheists who appreciate atheism and agnostics who are non-believers. They make us all look silly, and I'm kind of sick of it.
Well, I have to admit, I missed the sort of opening of your stream, so I'm lacking a little bit of context. I did see some stuff with you on Facebook today.
Yeah, I've been all over Facebook today on my day off.
Yeah, with with some guy who just basically didn't understand the argument from ignorance, but
yeah, there's been a few of those too. And again, look, even on that one, look, I'm willing to entertain that it might not be a fallacy. I think it is. I think what I wrote what somebody wrote was fallacious, but it's, you have to read into these things a little bit and tease it. I get that.
Okay, yeah, there might be some leeway there, but it did come across that way. Yeah,
I thought so as well.
It did come across that way. And yeah, so I'm lacking a little bit of context on some of the stuff. But hey, look, I told you the other day, Steve, you should know better than to go into atheist Facebook groups by now.
I know. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. It's so funny though, because I do find some very interesting people in there. I've met a lot of people in these atheist Facebook groups, and they come over to the Great Debate community, and I'm friends with them now. And they've actually really have edified themselves. So I think it's mainly kind of what I do.
I suppose it's good. I suppose it's good if you get the odd one who comes across. Maybe I've just kind of given up on a lot of those groups, because the level of debate in those groups is pretty awful, by and large. I've given up on a lot of the atheist groups. And just so people know, if you don't know me, yes, I am an atheist, and I actually am someone who says outright, yes, I believe no gods exist. Just for the record, people listening.
Yeah, no, and I think that most atheists have kind of gotten to that point. I don't see, at least in my circles, I don't see a lot of atheists going around like, I'm an atheist and I just lack of belief. I don't see a lot of that, because most of them are now like, oh yeah, look, gods don't exist. Let me explain to the theist why, right?
And I think, and I think, Steve, this is just my opinion, but I think actually I would say most atheists probably deep down hold a belief that no gods exist, and I will admit I'm still, because I'm still a bit of a noob on philosophical topics myself, whatever, but kind of lack the tools to articulate that argument, to say why they think no gods exist, because there's been the whole, as we know, the whole lack of belief things kind of sadly taken over a bit, and I will admit, I was one of those guys who used to absolutely regurgitate that whole atheism's just a lack of belief thing a few years ago, and sort of started diving a little further into some of these topics, and I was like, yeah, there's more to this than that. And I guess, I think, but I would guess a lot of people who who identify atheists probably feel the same way I do. They probably believe no gods exist, but I don't know, just want to get out of that lack of belief thing because they feel that somehow absolves them of a burden of proof. But that's just my opinion.
No, I think your opinion is correct. I find the exact same conclusion. But Ian, let's get into the specificities of, for example, like the New Atheist Challenge here that I have to them. They're making the claim. I mean, this is a metaphysical claim if you think about it. If you're not in set A, you must be in set B. That is their argument. It's not, if you're not in set A, you must be in set not A, because that would be, logically true. They're saying that all things in the universe must be dichotomously, bifurcated into two things, theist or atheist. And this is where you get, of course, R and Raw's rock.
That's where you get the fucking rocks bullshit. I mean, it's getting near that time of the year again. I'm sure someone's going to bring it up soon. It's the annual schism. So
the annual rock schism. Yeah, right. The chasm that divides, some atheists is it. I've been told how many times have I destroyed the atheist community by causing schisms? I'm like, really? Cool.
Yeah. Well, I like. I saw him in the chat earlier. I always like Trolley Dave's little.
Yeah, he's good.
Sort of take down with the by the same schema. You could argue rocks are vegans by the same schema. So
Yeah, I reviewed one of his videos not too long ago. Dave has a really masterful way of explaining these things, and I don't ever really see anything I've disagreed with Dave on. We really kind of have almost exactly the same philosophical positions for some strange reason. It's almost scary. I mean, because he's British, right?
Yeah. Well, I have to hold my hands up here for something. I was the one who sent Dave the video of Creaky Blinders video, and I was like, because I saw that and I was like, there was some things about that, and I just sent it to Dave. It's like, you may want to have a watch of this because I have thoughts. I had thoughts too. And I like Creaky. I like Creaky. Yeah, I do. We all like Creaky. Creaky's a good guy, but and I want to say this. I want to say this to the record. I'm going to say this publicly on the record. I don't think Creaky was being dishonest in any of that whatsoever. I just don't think he
thought it out.
I think he dived into something that he was a little over his head there, and I think that was, and he was very much regurgitating the crap I hear on the atheist experience, or at certain YouTubers, that has been the kind of become the accepted norm within these sort of online atheist circles for the last few years. And I can't. It was definitely talking points, wasn't it? Yeah, and I can't blame Creaky for that. I can't really blame him for that, honestly, but.
No, I think you're right. I mean, it was just talking points, and he was way out of his depths. And it's funny though, he didn't address anything that I or Dave said, which I think is kind of odd. I mean, look, if you're being out there with stuff you put out there, and you have two people that have made a video explaining maybe some of your errors, and both people have made the exact same point. And by the way, it just happens to be coincidental, kind of, that we made the same points. I didn't, I don't just watch Dave and go, yeah, I'm going to agree with him and just say the same thing. I would have said the exact same thing and not watch Dave's video, one way or another, because we came up with the same points. But Creaky hasn't addressed it, and that's a little disappointing. Cretan Bull says, Steve McRae, I don't mean to discourage you. Going to do it anyways, right? I'm just kidding. But the people you're arguing with are wrong, and will never admit it. I agree. They trying to swell their numbers by including everyone under their umbrella. Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. And some atheists have been honest about that. I mean, American Atheist, David Silverman, who wrote Fighting God, they all agree. Yeah, they want demographics. They want political power. They want to change the landscape. And they're arguing from a consequentialist point of view that, hey, look, if you start having more people identify as this and start getting more political power, it can change things. I don't agree with that for two folds. One, it's dishonestly doing it, which means that, you're ruining your credibility. And two, it doesn't make a difference in the landscape if you identify one way or another. If you're both non-believers, you both want the same thing. You can both have. I want secularism. I don't want young earth creationism taught in school. I don't need to be labeled myself or normalize the word atheism to do that. I mean, granted, they could say, okay, I want to normalize atheism so that atheist politicians have more ability to get in power. But I got to tell you, I don't think it is the case so much people go, oh, this person's an atheist, we're not going to vote him into power. No. I don't think. Look at Alaska. Sarah
I
Palin just got stomped, right?
yeah, I mean,
She lost. She lost.
yeah, I mean,
Took it.
I mean, maybe because I come from outside the United States or whatever. I don't know that like atheism isn't such a big like identity politics matter to me. As and I understand with people why it is. In the United States, yeah, and I do understand. In some places, there are places in the world there's absolutely a need for atheist activism and atheist organizations. I just, I don't know. Looking at it as yes, and I know I'm a bit outside of an outsider in a certain respect on this, but I just don't know that this stuff really is normalizing atheism in
I
my
agree.
mind.
No, I happen to agree with you. I think you're right. I don't think it is normalizing atheism. I think it's making it harder because if you have actual educated people on this topic and they say, hey, look, you want to normalize atheism, but the way you're doing it is dishonest. That's not helping atheists. That's making atheists look
Yeah,
bad. It's being counterproductive.
yeah. I mean, and I would say this. I mean, because this is one of the things, Steve. This is why I just can't. I have not been able to bring myself to join any atheist group for a number of these reasons. Um, and I mean, like for example, like I mean, there was a group in the UK called Atheism UK or whatever, and I look at them. Really, they're not really promoting atheism, but like anti-theism, and their shit is really bad. Oh, by the way, just so you know, John Richards runs that group, so
Oh God!
no
Oh, that
surprise.
say no more. Yeah, say no
Yeah,
more.
say no more. Say no
Oh
more. I mean,
my God, that may or may not
the
exist. That dude, I don't know how
fucking
that
god.
guy. How could first of all, how does anybody take that dude seriously? He is one of the most. And I'm sorry to say this. I really hate. He's a a civil guy, but Jesus, he's dumb as shit. He's absolutely morbidly stupid on
You're
so many
you're
different
more
levels.
you're more charitable to him than I am because I just think the guy's an arsehole, honestly. But that's just my opinion of the man.
I guess it can be,
I
but
I don't like him on a personal level either, as well as the fact that he's an idiot.
yeah. Yeah. By the way, yeah, I know Palin's not still on the ballot because it's a ranked choice.
Mm.
Alaska went to a ranked choice system, but she's not high in the rank right now. I think she's like, is she 2 or 3? So and that's kind of like disturbing to her. And I don't think she's going to win. And here's the thing: I happen to like ranked choice voting. I think the way using ranked choice voting it allows that a population that has over 50% does not want a person in, that person's not going to get in. There's no way for them to win. So there's some advantages to that. But anyways, yeah, but my point
Yeah,
being is that the landscape's changing where these religious people are being voted out. Sarah Palin is extremely religious, almost, I mean, she's fundy. And I think she's going to get voted out. She's already losing. And so, I don't think there's any real need as there was before to somehow normalize atheism. What I think there is a need is to understand secularism and want the separation of church and state. That's what's important, and recognize that these fundamentalists in positions of power are dangerous. And I'm an agnostic, and I say this, man. In fact, I just did a tweet on televangelism. Somebody sent me a video on televangelism, and look, I've always said televangelism is crap. These people are evil. These people are scamming older people out of money to line their pockets so they can buy $6 million jets.
oh boy.
And I find it to be disgusting.
I mean, I have a long standing hatred of those people, Steve, and
Me too.
yeah, I
You
mean,
after the
just so you know,
80s.
yeah, I mean, just so you know, like my ex-girlfriend, who I'm still on very good terms with now, but her parents were very much like very much sort of like die-hard kind of Christians, and they watch those American televangelists. Let's put it this way: they were in a position a number like 20 years ago where they were financially well off, now are struggling to get by because they have given a lot of money over the years to various televangelist scammers. And I find that sad.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
do.
because it's a total scam. And what's funny is it's completely legal. It's a completely legal scam. The IRS doesn't find it to be illegal to scam people like that. But if they say, hey, Jeff, if you really believe in the word of God, that God is going to burn that cancer right out of your soul, send us $100, and that will be a faith in God that God's going to burn that cancer out of you. It's perfectly legal.
I mean, with them, it was the whole plant the seed kind of thing. This money's going to come back. The prosperity bollocks,
Same thing. Prosperity gospel. You were in debt. Yeah. Well, if you want to get out of debt, then you didn't have faith in the Lord. And if you send me $100 right now, I'll pray for you, and God will take you and deliver you from that debt. That's seriously, that's prosperity gospel.
Steve,
and that's
Steve, I love your delivery date. Have you ever thought about being a televangelist?
I have too much ethics to do that. It's so funny. It's a lot of people that do these scams kind of stuff, and they go to atheism. I'm like, dude, Christianity is so much more profitable, man. I mean, those guys make bank. You'll be driving around in a Gulfstream, flying around in a Gulfstream if you're, one of those prosperity gospels. But no, then you have the other side. You have these atheist people like, John Richards, who I think is a total freaking scammer.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him going back. I mean, obviously, I've been diving a little bit into the whole AAI business.
I've tried. It's too complicated.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm going to get. I'm hoping I'm going to get John Hamill and some of the guys from Free Thought Profit, who I know documented stuff going back years.
Yeah, I've had John on, and I'm on the mailing list, and I see John's mailings to the AAI.
I will say the AAI stuff. I mean, to be honest, John Richards is a bit of a bit player in that. I mean, he wasn't.
I agree. Yeah, he wasn't in a position of real power.
I mean, come on. I mean, to be honest, speaking to that guy, come on. Do you think he could seriously mastermind a coup like that?
No, and I don't think for a second that he did. I think he was a bit player, but I also think that he emphasized his position.
Unfortunately, he's the guy who recently has stuck his head above the trenches to defend that rubbish, and kind of Streisand affected himself, really.
Right.
So
I agree with that. Yeah, actually, absolutely, I agree with that. Okay, so anyways, I know you don't have a lot of time, so just to jump back into my challenge for the new atheist. I mean, can you kind of repeat back what you think my challenge is? So if you can understand it, then anybody can understand it, kind of thing. I don't mean that disparagingly.
Okay, I'll give it a try as a total philosophical noob, and
you're sober. You're sober right now, right?
Hell no.
Oh, okay, so if drunk Jeff can understand this, then I expect new atheists to understand it. I think that's reasonable, isn't it?
Okay, you're putting a lot of pressure on me here.
Man. But... I really am. Go ahead, articulate my challenge. Very basic.
So what was your challenge, Steve? Because I missed the beginning.
Oh, you missed the beginning. Oh, okay.
I missed the beginning. I told you that when I came in.
You did. All right, so my challenge is pretty simple. I want an atheist to be able to articulate using some kind of logical reasoning, basic logical reasoning, no first order logic or anything like that. It's basic stuff that atheism and theism is some kind of metaphysical or logical dichotomy that is both mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive, that it is the case that if you're not a theist, you must by necessity be an atheist. Good luck with that.
No. What? Hold on. Now. What the challenges? They have to demonstrate that
if you're not a theist, you must be an atheist. If you are not
a theist, you are by definition an atheist.
No. Well, I wouldn't say by definition because there's no such definition. I would just say a logical argument. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. I know you hate that saying, but you see where I'm coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, and I even said arguing from a dictionary
you are
is not
you are one or the other. You are either a theist or a because that's kind of totally ignoring people like yourself who are agnostics.
Right.
Just saying
Yeah,
hearing
and
that.
it's just I can't. I've tried logically to derive it. I can't from first principles. The most I can come up with from the law of negation is instantiation of theist or not theist, or atheist or non-atheist. Without an arbitrary semantic substitution, there's no way you can get from theist to atheist as some kind of logical or metaphysical necessity. It's true in all possible worlds. Real quick, we have a super chat. Yes, on my day off, I get a super chat. I know I do a lot of these just because I really enjoy them, but I appreciate every super chat, every member that becomes a member of the channel, every Patreon I have. I still appreciate all of you. So if you want to become a member of the channel, you get like still a cool green name. But if you want to help to give me beer money, I accept that as well, even though I don't drink that much. But thank you. Low PNC1 says for $10. I appreciate you informing us in this. I'm going to say this again. I appreciate you informing us that in certain academic circles, atheist means you assert that there is no God. But I'm okay with us YouTuber atheists using it to mean we don't believe in God, and that's fine. That's never been an argument, right? I mean, people can use words where they want. What I step in and say when an atheist says this is the only way, this is the one true way, correct definition. That's when everybody should go, no, American atheist is wrong.
I think you and I are on the same page here, because that's kind of where I step in with this. I'm honestly not that bothered what definition people choose to use. If they want to use that whole lack of belief thing, hey, whatever, knock yourself out. I don't like it personally.
Right. You do you, right? But if they say, hey, look, this is how it is in philosophy, then it's a problem, right? Because it's not typically normative in philosophy.
I'll hold my hand up, and you go back. I'm pretty damn sure there's even a video on my channel going back like 3 or 4 years ago when I would have actually did a thing saying atheism is just lack of belief in gods. That's all it is. I'm pretty sure I made a video about that, and one day I might do a video debunking myself on that.
I think so. I know you kind of fell into that trap as well, and I think a lot of atheists do, right? Especially when they're leaving theism. Did you leave theism?
Let's be honest. Look, the atheist experience was my, kind of like
gateway
introduction level. My gateway. That was my gateway drug. So
I totally get that. I totally get that. But what's so funny is that a lot of people want to move past the atheist experience. The atheist experience, they peaked a long time ago, and they are so limited in their understandings. They have nothing. They have nothing to offer. Seriously, the atheist experience and Matt Dillahunty has absolutely nothing to offer as far as atheism. If you want to actually learn about atheism, philosophically speaking, absolutely nothing. Nothing.
I've got to be honest with you, Steve. I gave up on the atheist experience a long time ago. And especially since now it's just become the Matt Dillahunty. I mean, I don't want to get into a bash Matt Dillahunty session, but it's become the Matt ego show. It's the Matt Dillahunty show. And when I felt there were certain people like, I know Tracy Harris or whoever who could kind of hold him in check a little bit and have good conversations. It was interesting. She left. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, the only, should we say, atheist call-in type of thing that I will even watch right now is the Skeptic Generation, which is the thing Eric and V are doing.
Yeah, I like Eric. Eric's always been cool to me. Yeah, always had nothing but fondness for Eric.
I mean, and I don't agree with them on everything, because I think they've got I think they've a little bit got behind this whole trying to redefine anti-theism thing a little bit, which I have a little bit of an issue with. But otherwise, Eric and they're about the only one I'll give any time to.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Like I said, I don't have to agree with Eric on everything, but I respect Eric and Eric respects me, and that's what it matters, right? We don't have to agree. But I happen to like the guy. I don't know V very well, so I can't really say. But I do respect him, and as long as he's happy, I'm happy for him, and he seems to be very happy, right?
Eric, awesome. I mean, I don't think either of them would be afraid. They don't strike me as being afraid of the conversations.
No, I don't think so either. I don't take either one of them as cowardly as some of the other atheists. But real quick, let me read this. So Alapec 259. Hi, Steve. in from Much Love from Atheists for Liberty. Hey, so as many people know, I am supporting Atheists for Liberty right now. I like I said, that's open. It may change in the future because I mean, I don't think they're going to go the way of Atheist Republic or American Atheist or or AAI. But I mean, who knows? But right now, I happen to like what Atheists for Liberty stand for.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just me. So.
I mean, I know AFL that they're sort of. I mean, they're specific to the United States. They're a little right leaning for my tastes, but
I don't have an issue with that. Yeah, I think they lean right some ways and lean left other ways. But I mean, I think they kind of stay within a range, kind of central, and they don't try to be bipartisan. They try to be bipartisan. Where they don't try to be bipartisan. So they basically try to incorporate everybody, and I happen to like that. But I happen to really appreciate the fact they really are pushing for secularism. And Thomas, he's an amazing guy. He's just that dude. That dude has accomplished so much for his age. I'm just envious. So
I mean, I've listened to him on your show. I mean, it's obviously. I mean, obviously they're more a group towards the United States, but they're not. Just not my cup of tea personally.
I totally get that, right? And it's really a shame because I am working now. I don't have time to go to the Discords and the things that they put out, which are usually on Wednesday nights, and I always work Wednesday nights, almost always. Like I don't remember last time I had a Wednesday off or Sunday, and I almost always close Sunday nights too. So it's just like, it's just been hard because I really like their having difficult discussions kind of stuff, how to have discussions and things of that nature. Now, Thomas does need to update the Atheist for Liberty webpage, Alapig 259, because I have rewritten the about section for atheism and agnosticism several months ago, and he was supposed to incorporate that, and he's been saying that he's going to, but it has not yet. So, gotta give him a push in that. AFL accepts everyone.
To be honest,
yes.
I will say this: if anyone for AFL is listening right now, and bear in mind, I may not agree with you, but if you actually do put an honest thing about atheism on your website, my respect for you would increase a lot.
And that's awesome, actually. And by the way, I've told Thomas the same thing. I said, look, I have a bit of a following, and a lot of them, do agree and think the way I do, and they don't want to be in atheist organizations that just push this lack of belief bullshit. It doesn't do anything to their credibility, and I think Thomas understands that. And the way I worded it, was very inclusive, right? I did not just say, look, in order to be an atheist, you must believe there's no God, even though that would be hold true in a philosophical aspect if you're talking about philosophical atheism, but I do acknowledge there's other forms of atheism out there. So I am very inclusive in what I said. And I think the way it's worded, at least, so people understand that there is other usages, there is a philosophical usage, because American atheists doesn't even recognize that. They just say, oh, there's just one thing. Atheism is one thing, a lack of belief. Well, they're wrong. They're just flat out wrong.
They're absolutely wrong.
Oh yeah, we all know this now. And real quick though, I might have somebody who wants to take me up on this argument. So Ellie here says, challenge accepted. Not sure if I disagree, but I do have a particular take on atheism. The link to join is pinned to the very top. If you'd like to come in, Ellie, and then, by the way, if you'd like to take wait, hang on one sec. Let me get this out. We'd like to take the challenge for the donation. If you can show me wrong, I will donate $100 to your charity, and if not, you do a $10 to my charity, or we can just do it for fun. I don't care either way. I don't want any real pressure on somebody, but it's either or. I will definitely make that challenge.
If they want to do this one-on-one as well, Steve, and they want to come in, I'll jump out if they do come in. If they want to have a one-on-one conversation with you.
Okay, it says give me like 5 minutes. Okay, I think I could. I need to make some more coffee probably. But yeah, I can wait 5 minutes. There's the link to join. But yeah. So anyways, though, I really
I can't stay too much longer myself anyway. To be honest, Steve.
Yeah, no, but I appreciate that there's atheists like you out there.
So
I'm glad that people are able to change their positions and actually have a free, form type of discussion, because again, going back to these Facebook groups, when you have a moderator that just shuts down conversation because they can't out argue you, I just find that to be so disingenuous, right? With this new fallacy, McRae's wager. McRae's wager.
I like that one.
Yeah. I already have what I mean. I got a lot of things I named or coined. You know, they're out there. You know.
I know. I do remember McRae's law. I do remember that one. It was something along the lines of. Yeah, I think it was something along the lines of one's faith in humanity is, it correlates to one's time spent on the internet. I can't remember the exact quote, but
I remember what it is. It's McRae's law. Yeah, McRae's law was the amount of hope you have. Okay, the amount of hope one has left for humanity is inversely proportional to the amount of time one spends on YouTube or the internet. So basically, so if the more you spend time online, especially YouTube or the internet, the amount of hope you have for humanity is inversely proportional. So you start losing hope for humanity the more time you spend online. That's McRae's law. I probably believe you actually remember that. Wow.
God damn, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Here, I'll type it for the live chat. This is McRae's law. You kind of buggered out there. I think you are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Yeah, McRae's law. The amount of hope one has left for humanity.
I had my own. Let's move to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is that better, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I had my own variation on that, and it's just because of just seeing the sort of infinite amount of stupidity. My own variation on that. My law is that no matter how much of a dumb fuck you are, the existence of YouTube dictates that eventually some dumb fuck will come along that's even dumber than you, that you'll move up the ladder without actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, you become the smarter person in the group when somebody dumber enters the room, right? And also, no matter how dumb you are on the internet, somebody's going to believe you. That's another thing that's scary. That's like an axiom, right? It's an axiom, I think, on the internet that no matter how dumb you are or whatever the BS you put out, there's going to be somebody that's going to believe you. That's sad. That's really sad. Man, it is hot today. Hey, Alexa, what's the temperature today?
Right now, it's
It is sad. It is totally sad.
Tonight, expect a low of 85 degrees.
And what'd you say? 100 and say 100. Alexa, what's temperature?
Right now, it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's only 100.
Tonight,
it's hotter than that.
She said 100, Steve.
And that's no, I think she's wrong. No, she's right. It's 100. Oh, it's a high of 106 though today. That's not too bad. It's 110.
She said 100.
Yeah, it's
she said it would get to a low of 85.
But the high is 106.
I'm sorry, that's we don't deal in freedom. Yeah, which I still don't have a lot of context. We don't deal in freedom units here over here, so we deal with the Celsius.
Well, the high this week, because we have a heat wave here, is going to be 116 Fahrenheit, and that's what 46 C. Oh, 46 C, yeah. 46.
Yeah, I think 45. I think 45 C is like the hottest I've been in, and that was in the Mediterranean, and that was too much for me.
Yeah, that's 114 here in Fahrenheit. It gets 122 degrees here. We get super hot.
Yeah, if we get over 25 degrees C here, I'm dying. You know.
Hey, look,
your California would kill me.
Hey, real quick. So L is it L or L?
Yeah.
Ellie. Okay. Hi, Ellie.
L.
Okay. Hi. So, do you want to do a formal challenge? Or you want to do an informal? Completely up to you. I would definitely donate $100 to your charity if you could do this logically. But all I ask is you donate $10 to the Wounded Warrior Project, or we can just do it for fun. Your call.
Let's just do it for fun because I'm not even sure if I disagree with you, to be honest.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So, where do you want to begin?
Can I just ask a question, El? Do you want me to drop out so you can have a one-on-one with Steve, or?
It's up to you. You know, as so long as we're able to have a productive conversation.
He can moderate if he has time. I know he needs to pass out soon.
I'm gonna have to drop out in 10 minutes anyway. So, I'll stay in for a little while.
Do this quick before we get started because it is getting a little warm in here. I'm gonna have to turn the AC back on, which is a little background noise, and I apologize, but Jesus, I'm not gonna melt. Okay, so
no worries. Hot. We've spoken before, Steve. I don't know if you remember.
Hang on. And I took my headphones off.
Okay.
You heard a kick on. That's the so it'll be a little bit noisy, and I apologize. But dude, it's hot. All right. So what you got for me? First, Al, do you get what my challenge is? I mean, you kind of understand what my position is there.
I to some degree maybe, but I'm not sure if I understand the whole thing. We've spoken before, Steve. I don't know if you remember on the ACD server before.
Yeah. You're on the was ACD? What server was it? ACD?
Yeah. Atheist Community of Discord. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's the ACA new. That's the new version of the ACA one, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So why don't you just give me a sense of what the view is that you are trying to advocate for here?
All right. So on these Facebook groups, a ton of atheists are under some huge misconception that that if you're not an atheist, you must be logically or metaphysically, by necessity, a theist, or if you're not a theist, you must be logically or metaphysically an atheist. And unfortunately,
I disagree with that.
Yeah, and most people that understand philosophy or atheism would never agree with such a thing. It's just wrong, fundamentally wrong. But they're so adamant about it. And when I ask them for evidence, they provide absolutely none. One, there is no citational evidence. Two, I don't think there's a logical way you can ever derive them because I've tried, and it's some kind of arbitrary, substitution. You can't derive it.
Are they just erasing agnostics or what?
Yeah, absolutely they are. And
okay.
And so they're under huge misconceptions because one, they want, for some reason, atheism to be merely lack of belief. So they have this dichotomy where they just say, well, atheism and non-theism are exactly the same things. The problem with that is they're not equal sets. In reality, atheism is a proper subset of non-theism, and they don't seem to understand that. And so under their schema, there's no agnosticism because agnostics would basically be falling under atheism. But that is one, dishonest, because theists could do the exact same thing just by wording theism differently.
And they do this all the time.
So that's my position. That's my argument to them.
Okay,
my new challenge to them.
All right, so I think that I may be in the middle of you two. I definitely don't agree with them, but I don't think that you and I maybe agree about everything either. I think that the best way of looking at this is that there are atheists and then there are non-atheists. Yes. So I like to clarify. I like to put agnostics, in non-atheists and theists. And for me, the what it comes down to is whether or not you believe in the possibility of magic in some way, whether that's a god or enlightenment or ghosts or whatever. And atheists don't believe in that possibility.
All right. So there's a couple things you said. One, I agree with the logic. You're right on that. Like, look, you have atheism and atheists are not atheists. Theists not atheists. Those are actual natural dichotomies, right? So I absolutely agree with your logic's right. An agnostic is a non-atheist and non-theist. And by the way, you can actually prove this or show this using logic. Dr. Lawrence Demi, breaks it all down in one of his papers, and that's exactly what he shows. That you have, if you're a theist, you are a non-atheist, you are a non-agnostic. You've made a decision, and you have you are convinced that there's a God. You have not suspended judgment on it. You've not said that there is no God, right? So these are three.
Well, but a lot of theists do. A lot of theists do, like make rhetorical claims of like, I can't know for sure, but this is what I believe. Pascal's statement and all that. Yeah,
that's rhetoric. And by the way, knowledge has nothing.
It's also admitting that they don't have full certainty about it.
Well, and you don't need full certainty, right? I mean,
sure, but agnostics don't have full certainty either. So it's a little bit more complicated than just they are 100% dyed-on-the-wool theists. Because theists, as I said, can be relatively agnostic relative to other theists.
Well, I would put it more as convinced, right? Because a theist who says there's a God is just convinced. They're not. There's no way to interpret what they mean by the strength or the strength of their conviction, right? I can just say, look, I am convinced of this, but I'm weakly convinced, or I'm strongly convinced, or I can say I know, or I have certainty. But these are levels, right? These are levels of the.
Well, they also imply that one thinks that it's relatively reasonable to think the opposite and to believe the opposite. Relative to other theists who believe more strongly in the theistic claims.
Well, yeah, and I think that when if a theist says, "Look, I believe this God exists," I think they're trying to at least imply that it's rational to hold that belief. I would think that would be some kind of epistemic entailment. But I disagree with you on the magic thing. Because atheism isn't about magic; it's about a deity, right? And it's about a specific.
Well, from my
proposition,
perspective,
deification.
deities are defined in part always by how magical they are, and the fact that they are magical.
But you can have magic and still be an atheist. You can say, look, I believe
not for not for me, not the way that I use the word. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted if you could expand my.
You're breaking up a little bit.
You're breaking up a lot.
Literally, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have a very good microphone. My understanding of atheism is do with gods, with the existence of gods, not necessarily magic. So I'm just wondering if you could expand on your position a little bit, so I understand.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So the reason I do that is because a lot of people who have religious beliefs don't necessarily believe in a god, but they still believe in something akin to God. For instance, most significantly, enlightened states of being. And I like to include this in my definition of atheism because from my perspective as an atheist, it's all the same shit, just different words. It's a belief in something supernatural that one doesn't have a good reason to believe in. Besides, being hypnotized into believing it.
And Al, your position is not it is atypical, but it's not unheard of. There actually are positions out there that hold very unique, similar positions as you about atheism, where they try to relate atheism to naturalism. And it's just in the literature too. This is actual atheist, well-versed atheists who tend to make atheism the position of naturalism. I have some disagreements with it, but what your position is not unheard of. That makes sense?
It makes sense, but I appreciate that you aren't necessarily on the same page with me with my reductionism of all religious beliefs to magic.
Right.
It's just that for me, I have had a lot of success in my own mind and also in conversations with a lot of different kinds of people to really clarify these issues. I don't think it's
critique of your view. I could do an internal critique. It's not.
And I don't think it's too. I don't think it's too reductive. I think it's reductive enough that it clarifies, my perspective and other people's perspectives that I'm engaging with, but not so reductive that it, leaves people out.
Let me ask you this though, okay? Because like I said, I do understand your position, but would you also agree that if that is your position, then it would be basically epistemically committing you to the belief that none of it exists, right? I mean, there is no
that magic doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe in any magic. That's correct.
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
Listen carefully. I didn't say that you didn't believe, because that's given. I said that it holds you to the belief that it is false. That it is. No thing.
Well, for me, I use those two propositions interchangeably, but I know that because of your particular, engagement with these dogmatic atheists, that it's important to make this distinction clear. But I definitely believe it.
You believe it's nonsense, and that's fine.
That's right.
And it sounds like given enough time, you don't have to do it here. I think given enough time, you could easily discharge your burden of proof. It's not that hard to do.
I believe so, and I'm careful about how certain I am about these things.
Yeah, you don't have to say certainty. Look, again, we're just talking about dysastic states, and I think it's dishonest. And I see theists do this more often than atheists, but I see atheists do it too.
Me too.
I think it's dishonest when somebody says, "Hey, look, you have that belief, but how you're certain?" Well, I'm not saying I'm certain. You're throwing things in there that I'm not claiming. When you say a statement, it's just a belief. It's not a statement of knowledge. It's not a statement of epistemic certainty.
That's right.
And so that's the
right.
problem.
That's
you don't have to be certain there's no such thing as knowledge. You don't have to go, hey, look, I have absolute epistemic certainty that I could not be wrong about something.
Well, I'm a pragmatist. I'm a pragmatist. I'm a fallibilist, basically.
Me too.
And so I can't. I don't believe in that. Yeah.
I agree. I'm a fallibilist as well, and I'm a pragmatist. I hold to those things as well. So that's pretty
nice.
Pretty normative.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I guess we basically agree then. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hey, this is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can I interject a point here? Because I think this is a. I think we can all possibly agree on this particular point. I feel as if a lot of people within the sort of atheist community view the word belief as a very dirty word.
It's a magic. I call it a magic trick word for atheist, and for everyone it is in my opinion.
And I don't mind admitting, I've always said I do not mind admitting that My position is no God. I believe no gods exist, and I don't mind admitting that's a belief position.
Of course not.
That's
Why
what
would
I
you mind it? It's
believe.
just definitionally the case,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. I don't believe, and I don't believe, other things like magic, supernatural. I believe those things are non-existent, and I feel. I mean, this is possibly I feel was got very wrong. I feel over the years that word belief has become a bit of a dirty. It's become such a dirty
It's been
word.
stigmatized, even though it just
Well,
literally is all it is an epistemic disposition toward a proposition.
I do want to make a point after you're about to say. Go ahead. Yeah,
I just
sorry.
want to welcome my buddy Oflamio. How you been,
No,
man?
I've been great. How have you been?
Hey, you look wonderful, man.
Yep, I've been on vacation this week.
Awesome. You look well rested and de-stressed. And are you still going to school?
I haven't been going to school. I read all the time, so I'm gonna say yes.
Awesome. Okay, so go ahead, El.
Yeah, so I agree with you guys that they're using this word wrong. I think that belief is a magic trick word, which is a term I think I invented, by which I mean it's a word that people can use for the purposes of, self-hypnosis and other hypnosis, and it can be used in religious rhetoric for these kinds of purposes, and I think that and irreligious rhetoric as well in this case, and so I think that you guys are right in identifying a problem with these people's rhetoric and the way that they're deploying this term belief. But I also have to say that, I mean, I'm not in this like you guys are on Facebook, so I can't say really. My judgment here probably doesn't matter that much, but I don't think it's that big a deal. I don't really care that much that these atheists are making this mistake. I think it's silly. I think it deserves being pointed out and people educating themselves about it and changing the rhetoric about it. But I don't know how important it really is in the end. I don't know if it's as important as you guys think it is from my perspective.
That's fair. And that's perfectly fair. Look, everybody has their little thing, right? We all have our niche that we talk about, right? This is my niche, and I happen to be, I think, pretty good at it. I've been doing it for a very long time. And the biggest compliment I can get, though, is when an atheist says, "Damn, Steve, I see your point. I've changed my position. You're right." And then they go on and they start learning about atheism, and they go out and they start talking to theists, and theists go, "Yeah, I'm no longer religious," or I don't believe in God anymore. Or, "Yeah, prosperity gospel is crap. Young creation is crap."
Yeah.
I mean so it does have an effect overall, I think, because
of course it does. Yeah.
Of a lot of people merely because they start investigating, and once you start investigating, and Flamo says, read. It does.
I didn't need to read. I didn't need to read it. I when I heard this the first time on the Atheist Experience, people making this claim, I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I think you're making another mistake. I talked to Steve about this before. So yes. So when you say gods don't exist, like if I reference a fictional god, would you say how do we determine if it exists or not? So I say if I like point you at Dark Matter 25 cartoons, they point out those characters. Could you name them?
Are you asking me whether or not a fictional god exists in fiction? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it does in terms of fiction.
That's fictionalism. Yeah.
Fictionalism. Yeah.
But what does that have to do with like reality? I don't understand.
Well,
what does it have to do with a mistake I've made? I'm very concerned.
You can reference it from our reality. We can, if we're cognizant of it, how are we say it doesn't exist?
Well, we're talking about the concept, right? The concept exists, right? I mean, let's say I know it's canonical, and I hate to use hackney type things, but Superman, right? Superman is a canonical thing in philosophy. It's used a lot when talking about transparency and opacity of statements, and Superman is a concept, right? We all agree the concept of Superman exists, but I don't think any one of us would actually argue the actual object that the word Superman points to is a ontological object that has actual persistence. I don't think that anybody would argue that, right? Superman does not exist in reality, but the concept certainly does, right? You can believe Superman exists, and you can believe that Superman does not exist. If you believe Superman does exist, I like to know the reasons behind it. Right.
Yeah. There's a cultural persistence. So if you just in the cultural context, we have to say it exists, but we can't.
No, we don't. We have to be careful. We have to be careful because if we're going to say it exists, then some people like agnostics and theists will get very confused about what we're actually meaning when we say that. And so
I'm confused with what you mean too. So
there you go. So let me be clear. Let me be clear. When I say something exists, generally speaking, I'm talking about it existing in the real world in which you and I, are existing right now. Generally speaking, whereas when we're talking about a thing like Superman or God, this thing exists in our literature and it exists in people's minds who are religious, but it doesn't exist in any other way, and so it doesn't. I don't use that word existence there as easily.
Now let's clarify real quick before we get the super chat. There are different ways of expressing existence. Generally speaking, existence is an ontological status, right? That has some kind of spatial temporal component to it, but not always. There are. And when you talk about mathematics and talk about Platonism and mathematical Platonism especially, you talk about something existing. It has a different connotation of the term, and it's not equivocation. It's just it's a very difficult concept to understand the existence in the Platonic sense as it is opposed to some kind of ontological status. And I happen to believe generally now I'm kind of moving away from nominalism, and I think that numbers do exist, but that doesn't mean that look, point to it too, right? It doesn't mean that they exist. In our reality as some kind of concrete object. That's not what it means for mathematical Platonism. Same thing like dreams exist, right? And so what is a dream? Well, a dream has no ontological persistence. You can't point to where the dream is, right? It has no spatial temporal component, but we understand when we say I had a dream last night, in order to say I had a dream last night, it has to be something that did exist in some form, right? Even though it's conscious.
Exactly.
And I'm fine with that. I don't think there's any reason not to express things like that, right? And again,
me either.
But there are other people that says no, dreams don't exist. Okay, that's fine too.
They're just being annoying about their word choice. They're being pedants from my perspective.
Maybe, but
I don't think
there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong answer with that. It's just
that's the whole thing with pedantry. You can go on and on and on and on and on.
It's just your philosophical perspective, right?
I suppose.
And I don't think there's any right or wrong.
It depends on how much time you waste with it,
right?
Low
PNC1 for another $5. Thank you, man. I appreciate these
pleasure to speak with you guys. Nice to meet you two. And nice to see you again, Steve. I'm gonna have to head out.
Yeah, thank you, Al. I'll pop into the Discord more often. I'm not a big fan of Discord, as you know, but I love the fact that there are people still on Discord that are able to have these conversations and just don't go, oh, look, atheist experience must be right because Matt Dillahunty says it. I think it's a shame.
And let me be clear before I head out. I do not have any disrespect towards Matt Dillahunty. I actually respect the heck out of that guy. But I just if he still believes, I think he believes something like this about. I don't agree with him about that, but I do respect him quite a lot.
And look, I have no reason to try to have people disrespect Matt. He's done a lot. I just think he's an egotist.
Well, I don't think that. I don't know the guy. So I can't say that. And I've only ever been impressed by him. So but I appreciate, I appreciate speaking with you guys.
Real quick, have you had conversations with him?
No, I've only ever just watched his content.
Okay.
So
I have.
Fair enough.
Yeah, dude, nice to meet you. I did have a lot of respect for Matt. A lot of that I do no longer have because just the way he engages in a lot of these discussions anymore. I feel like he's been a bit of a letdown in the last few years for me personally. But
listen, I don't mean to speak against your guys' experience of this person. But I also don't want to speak ill of this person because I don't know this person.
I will hold my hands up. I've never actually spoken to him personally. I can only judge it on conversations I've witnessed the guy having.
Yeah, and I think you both have a point, and I think we can leave it there.
Yeah, no, and again, it was a pleasure meeting you guys. Have a great one.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Yeah.
All right, so again, for the super chat, $5. Please, he says, please don't cause us to start calling ourselves brights. No, don't use the term brights. I hate that term. I think it's just stupid, and I agree with you very wholeheartedly. Don't cause people to start calling themselves brights again. Kimamaki says, as Zag Zabeski points out, that's Linda, Dr. Linda Zag Zabeski. We have a natural reflexive trust in our own faculties, and we compare that trust with what we find rational. Absolutely. And by the way, Zach Zabetsky is probably one of the best epistemologists on the planet. I highly recommend reading her works. Her work, especially on the Gettier problems, to show that any belief first theory of knowledge will have some type of Gettier problem. But so what? It'll still have some kind of issue. And that her work on reliabilism to show that reliabilism is probably not the way to go is seminal and groundbreaking. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of her, and I do agree with her on that too. I think we do compare, what we trust to be finding rational, and we constantly are updating our beliefs, even though we don't update our presuppositions. Right? They're non-revisable. Right? If we can't just go back and say, hey, look, I'm going to presup that the reality is real, and then go back and revise that. That'd be a problem, right? Because it's properly basic belief. But I also disagree with Aaron, because Aaron just argues, well, reality is real by definition, and you all know how I feel about the phrase by definition for a word that has no prescriptive way of defining it. It just makes no sense to say reality is real.
It makes some sense.
Not to me.
I won't get into the details of it.
It's
Steve,
circular
because
it's circular. It's that's such begging the question.
I won't get into the details of it, Steve. But the only guy I've ever had a debate / discussion with on YouTube type thing went by definition argument on something. So yeah, it wasn't very good.
Yeah, I got you. Dave says, "Hey, all sorry. That's a Canadian thing, but British people do it too, I guess. Sorry. As soon as I put the stream on, Emma, I don't know what the hell that is. Wanted to head to bed. What is EMMA? I don't even know what that is. Is that a British thing? Hey, look, I don't know.
That's a name.
That's a name. I have no Oh, is that his daughter or wife?
Emma.
Oh, Emma.
Emma. That's
I
probably
put the stream on Emma.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, Dave. I've met Joe from Answers and Reasons. I don't know. I'm guessing Emma's Mrs. Dave. That's all I'm guessing.
Maybe he meant put the stream on for
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I will say here, Steve, can I do a plug? I'm sure you won't mind this.
God,
Trolley Dave's the channel Trolley Dave's involved with Answers and Reason. Go give them a sub, because I think they're closing in on 1,000 subs now.
They're awesome.
They utterly deserve it, and I love their content. And I've actually met up with Joe from Answers and Reason, and we went on a bender together. So
that would be fun. Yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, Emma is his wife. That makes sense. So probably put it out for his wife. Go subscribe to Answers and Reason. Go just do a search on YouTube, Answers and Reason. They also have a blog, and it's a very well articulated blog. Trolley Dave and Joe both usually have very good ways of expressing the positions.
I go to them for, as I say, the majority of my philosophical content, actually. So
wait, you don't go to my blog? I have my blog out longer, right?
No, Steve, I know you have, Steve, but
there's just prettier than mine, but mine is more detailed.
Yeah, but Steve, you are wrong by definition.
Steve's wrong by definition, right? I'm gonna kick you out now.
Well, I won't. I don't know. I will say this: certain dipstick who puts videos out actually where you disagree with him, and the whole determination of how he assumes that he was right was that you disagreed with him.
Yeah, the dumb is real with a lot of people. Here's a fun.
This is the guy. By the way, this is the guy that thought Speed Watkins was an undercover theist. That guy.
Yeah, it's so funny because people that I thought were intelligent can be so easily misled. And I just recently, and I'll leave it at this. I just put it out on Twitter. I basically said something along the lines of my new philosophy is fuckism, which is basically if you ever consider me at any time to have been a friend, but you never bothered to come to me to ask me questions on anything you might have issues with, then I have lost all respect for you, and I'll probably never ever regain it again. As simple as that. Fuckism.
Well,
and by the way, I will also,
invitation to ask you questions. That'd be great.
I'll also say that's a character flaw on their part and not mine, right? So,
well, look, I mean, Steve, there's certain things you're involved in that I don't reserve judgment on, but I've kind of kept away with.
No, that's fine. I was more specific. Right. I actually said people that don't come to me and then shit on me. You have never shit on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody, I don't care. Your face, Steve.
What's that?
Well, let's put it this way, Steve. I'll shit on for you for something you have done, not for something you haven't done.
I appreciate that. As it should be, right? As it should be. All right, go get the hell out of here so I can talk to a Flamo. You got to go to bed, right?
Oh, so I've already gone past my bedtime. What the hell? I've still got half a can of beer to drink. So,
all right, Flamo. So we got a question. I'm not going to keep it open much longer. About 15 minutes. I want to keep this down to 90 minutes, so people do remember my challenge, New Atheist. I'll keep it open this month, and then we'll kind of let it go after that. But it is like the beginning of the month. So yeah, Flamo, what's your question?
Pretty much, I just wanted to check Emma because, like, a lot of these do is their assumptions are poor. Their assumptions are just really bad. They don't lay out their assumptions. They don't lay out the definitions. Going to make no sense. So, like for example, when they say there's no evidence for God, what are those churches? Are those billions of dollars for those churches evidence or not?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. Look, I mean, you can go read the literature, and I mean, most of the academics I've read out there, they'll say that when an atheist says no evidence for God, they have a hell of a bar to reach, and I don't think anybody has ever reached that bar. I think it's a very, 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 very bad argument. I think it's an argument that should not use.
And again, I'd say that was an argument I used to regurgitate, that there's no evidence of God.
Yeah, I mean,
I could probably. It's easy. It's an easy revision. It's easy for any atheist to revise that. There's no evidence you've seen that's convinced you is a very, very easy way to get around that, I suppose.
But that's a tautology, right? I mean, if you say I'm not convinced because there's no evidence that convinced me, that's a tautology. It's not saying anything of interest. Now, I would word it this way. How about this, Jeff? I would word it this way. And I kind of took an issue with Drange, who wrote a thing on atheism, agnosticism, and because the way he worded it too, but I kind of knew what he was meaning. But I think it's easier if you to avoid any kind of issues to say, look, there might be evidence that might be going slightly towards a theist argument, but it's not sufficient enough to be warrant a belief that God exists, and that's fine. You can say that, or just say, look, there's evidence for and against pretty much anything. And I tend to think that the evidence against something is more than the evidence for something. You weigh evidence, right? And so it's silly to say there's no evidence for something, no matter what, because no matter what, you finally come up with some kind of evidence, but it's bad evidence or weak evidence, right?
Because hang on. To say this zero evidence for God is really a bad argument.
Yeah, let me even be more specific, Jeff, and see if you agree. If I said there's no evidence for a young Earth, I would probably be shooting myself in the foot. What I should say is there's no scientific evidence for a young Earth, right? Because there are some weak evidence out there, very, very, very weak. It's pathetic. Don't get me wrong, but it's insignificant. But I would never say anything like that would be zero evidence unless you're talking about science. So, there's no evidence in science that I can see that points to a young Earth, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody says, here's my evidence from a theological point of view. Okay, whatever. I just don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. I think it's really insufficient.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we're being pedantic. I don't know. But
with that particular example as well, you can also say that not only is the evidence you presented for young Earth really weak, but the overwhelming evidence there is available on the table suggests young Earth is not a thing.
Right. To me, it's sufficiently non-existent that if people maybe want to treat it as that way, I don't like that. I think the ways you word things are important, right? And what's the takeaway says, who decides what's sufficient? The individual? Yes. That's how we evaluate things. Of course it's to the individual. Why would it not be? I mean, who else decides for you what your beliefs are but you?
Yeah.
I just want to remind atheists to avoid arguing from incredulity, arguing for personal incredulity. Pretty much, it's that you can't imagine it means it doesn't exist. That's
it. That's the argument for incredulity. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I know I see that occasionally. That's not one of the more prevalent fallacies I've seen, but I do see it. I mean, I a lot of times people will argue that with me only when they say, "Hey, Steve, I can't believe in any context what you're saying is true," but it's just like, well, go read the literature, right? I mean, you're just arguing incredulity at this point. Kibawaki says, relying on Clifford's principle may not always give an accurate result. That's true, but Clifford's principle I think is more of a normative epistemic principle, what his attempts to be, right? It has to do with ethics more than anything else. I don't think that people should rely on Clifford's principle, nor am I a strong evidentialist. If anything, I'd probably tend to moderate evidentialism. But I don't necessarily hold to Clifford's principle. But I do think that there's an argument to be had that, as an extension of Clifford's principle, that if you allow something to happen with the belief that it might end up with negative consequences, have you committed an ethical act? There's something to be really said for that. I mean, even though the action didn't lead to a negative consequence, but if you have the belief that it might have a significant negative impact and you allow it to have you committed an immoral act? Yeah, you might have. I mean, but again, if it's hard to really argue that if it's going by actions. If for example, if something, let's say you didn't take action in something, right? You know that if somebody walks across the street, they're going to hit by a car. The car's coming around the corner, and you don't take action. Is the lack of action an immoral act? I'm going to argue yes, because the inactivity, even though it wasn't a direct action, resulted in someone's death. Now, if you say, look, there's a strong possibility because I know this, the freeway is heavily congested, that if a person walks across that freeway, they're going to get hit by a car, and I allow them to do it, knowing that they might die. If they make it all the way across and they don't die, did I still commit a moral act by allowing them to cross in the first place? This has to go through the whole thing with Clifford's principle when it came to the ship, seaworthiness of a ship. If the seaworthiness of the ship was such that they knew that ship probably should not be going across the Atlantic, and it did go across the Atlantic and did make it all the way across and did not sink, is there still some unethical considerations there? Now,
yeah, because that's a safety check.
Yeah, that actually did happen, by the way. He got that because he was on a ship that sank.
Yeah, well, that's on. Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole.
So I would say yes, it'd be unethical. Yeah.
Yeah, I happen to tend to agree with that. I think it would be as well. I think Christopher Green says also, what's the name of the black metal do we have in front and center? That's Jeff.
That'd be me. That would be me with the black metal avatar there.
And is that a fedora? That is a fedora.
Affirmative. It is a fedora. It's purple.
That's purple. It looks more of a grayish.
It's just the lighting. My lights are really bright. Very, I think, 3,700K.
Damn, that's a lot. Is that lumens?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So that's a heat. That's a temperature, I think. And then yeah.
Because I have a flashlight that's 15,000 lumen or something like that. My flashlight is bright. I don't remember. Your shirt looks purple, by the way.
Yep.
Did you want to come in, Christopher Green? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Christopher Green tends to do philosophical stuff too. Yeah. So looking it up here, 4,000 lumens is a pretty heavy duty LED flashlight.
Yep.
Now you're talking about temperature, but 3,700 lumens would be considerable.
Yes.
A low end is only 230 lumens. Yeah. Anyways, off topic, but whatever. Looks like a tribby to you. I have to look that up.
We changed our definition, so it is a trilby, but it's also fedora now.
Oh, it's a trilby. Oh, that's a trilby.
Yeah, it's a trilby, but now we say trilby's a kind of fedora.
Oh, see, I did not know these things. I never heard of that before. Trilby, a narrow brim type of hat. See, I have no problem admitting when I've learned something new, and I love learning things new. I've seen them before, but I never knew they were called a trilby.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, it's a British thing. That's why.
Yeah, but yeah, we in America classify all trophies as fedoras. So
yeah, I just know it's fedora. Yeah, those Brits, they're weird. They have all kinds of weird things. They talk funny too.
I'm going to say that's a British thing, and that's the first I've heard of it tonight. So hey, I've learned something new.
Yes. See, that's what I like about this channel and stuff. Like, we're not afraid to admit we don't know something, right? It's like, I have no idea. I don't try to bullshit when it's about something that I have no idea about. I'll be like, I've never heard of that before. I don't care. People are like, you never heard of that before? You're a dumbass. Okay, whatever. But I don't care.
Yes, I am.
I'll be fine with that. No big deal. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up because it's going 90 minutes. But I think I got my point across. If anybody wants to take me up a challenge, just message me. I'd like to do it for fun, but whatever. I mean, I don't expect anybody to donate $10 because I know they're not going to be able to actually meet my challenge. But it's still fun to talk to people about these types of topics, and I wish people in the Facebook groups would get their shit together. But like I said, I'm the one group I'm talking about. I do not want to disparage the admin. He's really cool, and he did fix things. But I just got to warn Facebook groups. If you got a rogue mod that's using mod powers because they just don't know how to mod properly and they don't know how to have a proper rejoinder, you might want to really kind of rethink who you have in positions of power, right? That's just my belief. So.
Well, Steve, as I told you earlier this week, mate, you've been around long enough to know Facebook atheist groups are the pit.
They're the worst.
I'm trying to remember what it was called. I can't remember the last one I was on. It was like, atheism versus religion, something along those lines, and all it was bad atheist memes. Yes. And
I hate that. They're so dumb.
And so dumb. I kind of got kicked out of the group for I got kicked out of the group for when someone put this meme up about atheism, religion being a mental illness.
Oh, I hate that. That's what's bad.
And I argued that, and I said, look, that is the work because that's my pet peeve with.
And the DSM literally has an exception for religion. So literally has an exception for religion. So if you do something crazy, but you have a lot of people doing it, then they'll decide that it's not crazy anymore.
Right. I mean, I just I'm in this other group, and this one person that says, your definition of atheism is incorrect. At that point, you're just dealing with an idiot, right? I mean, it's like they have, again, no academic support, no citations, no logical arguments. Just you're wrong by because what reasons, right? This is typical of what I find in these Facebook groups. It's so pathetic, and I don't even spend much time with them. I
mean, I don't know if there is a logical fallacy that argumentatum add Google search yet. I don't know if that's a logical fallacy yet, but
argumentatum add Google foo.
Yeah.
I already told you my favorite part of Facebook. My favorite part of Facebook is the BTRFS backend, B3000 backend. Otherwise, I don't like any part of Facebook. I don't even have a Facebook account.
Yeah, I've had my Facebook for a long time. I use my Facebook account because I've had friends out there I've known. Literally, I've had my babysitters since I was a child on there. I have a lot of people I've known all my entire life on Facebook, hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe even 1,000 people. The rest, I've been online, but I have a lot of people that I know in real life. Okay, maybe it's not that much, it's hyperbole, but I've met a considerable amount of people on my Facebook. I mean, there's probably 50 in my hometown alone that are on my Facebook that I know personally. So I use it for that. But when I go into these Facebook groups, and I start, talking about atheism, and I'm actually giving them correct information, and they're treating me like I'm an idiot. It's like, where do you go from there? It's like, okay, you're gonna tell me I'm wrong about atheism, and yet you've never read a paper on atheism, and they'll say, well, what is there to know? Why would there be a paper on atheism? It's merely a lack of belief. I'm like, you're an idiot. Go away. I'm done.
Just pretend to be a village idiot. Just pretend to be a village idiot, Dan.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. What do you mean by that? Yeah, But anyways, I'll see. Alec 259 wants people to join the Discord. Put the link in the. Can you? If I give you mod real quick, can you put the link to the Discord if you want to go join it? I'm gonna give you. Hey, I'll give you a mod wrench real quick. If you wanted to put the Discord to the AFL, but I think is it the AFL for members only, which I am a member of, but. But you can become a member of AFL for the low price of only $1 a month, $12 a year.
Link it to your Discord then. You.
I don't do much of my Discord. I really should start, but I don't have the time as much. I stream when I can.
Yeah, but Steve, you're like me. I hate Discord. I know you do as well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Discord.
Have you tried Element?
No, what's that?
Okay, it's an alternate chat platform other than Discord.
I do my shows on the Non Sequitur Show. I got a killer show coming up here with King Crocoduck, with maybe a special guest or two.
Yeah, good guest.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's back, and so I do Non Sequitur once a week if I can, and then I do these streams when I have time, which is usually 1 or 2 days a week.
It's like that third book of Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yeah, I also got I love the book. I read the whole series. Yeah, he's back with a vengeance too, because he's talking about certain things about what's called nuclear naturalism, which I'm trying to understand. But I
have to admit, a lot of the stuff Crocoduck talks about is way above my head.
Way above my pay grade. Oh yeah, I'm not into the whole.
You hit 90 minutes, Steve. You can go ahead and sign off.
Yeah, I'm gonna be signing off in a minute. I'd like to get him and Vosh together. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Vosh wants to come on, so. But anyways, yeah,
I'd love to talk to Vosh. I'd just like to be the hangout with Vosh. I'd like to talk to him at some point.
Yeah, he's so hard to get a hold of. I about a week or two ago, but he's
interesting. I don't know where he still stands politically wise, because I know one time he was kind of like on the whole Marxist thing. I don't know kind of where he is now, but
I think he's like an anarch-fascist, totalitarian, labor value theory. I don't know.
Tanky.
Yeah, I'll just say I've read a lot of that stuff, so that's where I think I could have an interesting conversation with him. I think, but yeah.
And look, I just don't know anything about political models, and I never really expressed any interest in him. So, I mean, I did, obviously, I did my show over and under with Chris Attlee, but we didn't go into really political theory, right? And by the way, if you guys want a really good channel to listen to in the middle of the night, if you're at Pacific Coast, 4 a.m., go check out Chris Attlee's channel of Hereticals with Jeff here and many other panel members, where they talk about all kinds of like irrelevant nonsense, and they do it in an enjoyable way. I don't know how to explain the show.
That's a good expression. I love Chris a bit, so I really do.
That's a good description, though, isn't it? A show about irrelevant
absolutely.
Nonsense.
Absolutely.
It's not demeaning. It's not degrading. That's just what it is.
It's not no, it's not at all. Because let's just say this is politically, myself and Chris are like totally up at the ends of the spectrum, but like I really get on with the guy at a personal level. Like he's more right leaning, I'm very left leaning, but like we get on so well on a personal level. It's great,
I adore Chris. Chris is an awesome person. He's down to earth and he's legit, and I respect that immensely.
He's what we in Darth Dawkins' words, the dopey Russell Crowe.
yeah. No, I'm good with that. That actually is apropos.
That was Darth Dawkins' description of him.
I like that actually. I said the same thing. He looks like a cross. It kind of looks like Russell Crowe and Ricky Gervais had a love child.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And I'll just say, not that Darth Dawkins is butthurt at the fact that Chris completely spanked him in a debate or nothing. Nothing got to do with that.
Spanked him. Kim Maki says, thanks for the completely adequate stream, snarky LOL. Oh, it's funny you mentioned that. Somebody, I think Kim Maki might be referring to my Facebook page, where somebody tried to argue with me that my points basically are irrelevant because I'm snarky. That was his word, snarky. And I'm like, why would you tone police me on my own page? And I was very polite at first. I'm like, tone policing and grammar Naziing gets you nowhere on my page. If you come into my Facebook page, which has almost 5,000 freaking people on it, so I have room, I'm gonna have to start cutting people here soon. If you come to my page on Facebook and you start saying you spelled a word wrong, or you missed a period or a period, or you start pointing out grammatical errors, and not addressing the content, you're probably going to get blocked. I have no tolerance for that.
Right. I'm just going to say this out loud right now, just anyone listening. Okay, listen. Whether or not you like Steve, or whether you like anybody, personal feelings on who it may be you like or dislike, doesn't necessarily invalidate the argument.
You think?
Arguments that are the key here.
Yeah.
Address them.
Don't
it doesn't invalidate an argument just because the person who made it you may not like.
Yeah, don't address the vehicle or the method because it's just not going to get you anywhere. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I'm not a teacher. My pedagogical methods are my own. I don't give a flying fuck. Don't come to my page saying, "Oh, well, you may reach more people if you do this and that." That might be fine and true and dandy. I don't care. This is how I do it. That's how and I am who I am. And that's it. I don't want somebody to fucking sit there and tell me that I'm snarky, therefore people are going to listen to me. Oh, fucking well, that's their problem. My goal is not to convince the entire world of something. My goal is to put it out there and people want to listen. Great. If they don't, that's fine too. I've been, what's so funny, Jeff? I've been so goddamn consistent with that too. I mean, have I ever said anything to the contrary? If I have, I don't certainly recall it. So,
can you turn your snarky style up some more? You probably get yourself in a controversy and. Then...
Oh, I'm never involved in controversies. Never, dude. Right?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
An attempt was made to convince you of that. Christopher Green says, "Hey, guy in the middle. Sorry, I forgot the name already. Jeff, are you really into black metal? If so, who's your favorite band?"
Oh, Watain. They're a Swedish black metal band.
That'd be a yes. He really is. I'm not into black metal.
Yeah.
I'm more into I obviously love metal, but I have just become a huge fan of Ghost recently in the last couple of years.
Oh, Ghost BC, they're awesome.
Yes, I mean, I live to Bias Forge, and
they are fantastic.
It's so funny because a lot of the music is fucking mellow, right? It's just really melodic, harmonic. It is just good music. It's not heavy metal. People even criticize Ghost as being more popish. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, my favorite is Master Boot record.
What is it?
Master Boot record and Key Gen Church is the same guy. That's my favorite.
I have to look into that. I never heard of them. Have you ever listened to Ghost PC?
Yeah, and I'll say it's a Swedish black metal band I came across, and I was at a music festival going back 10 years ago now. I just came across them as there was nobody on the main stage I really wanted to watch. I think Biffy Clyro, were on the main stage. I think we fancied watching them. So I just went to watch this band called Watain, and who gave like the performance. One of those things where you just do a gig and it's like, oh my God, this is so atmospheric. This is so amazing.
Well,
how did I not hear of these guys before, kind of thing?
Well, when I think of Swedish bands, those only one comes to mind. The all-time.
Yeah, ABBA.
ABBA. Is it ABBA or ABBA? No, I always say it's ABBA.
Yeah.
Waterloo. Yeah, ABBA was amazing. Anybody says otherwise, you don't deserve to even talk about music. Yes. But yeah, like I said, if you guys really want to check out a great group, Ghost BC is just so damn good. I just put that on and I just chill. It's so it just takes me away. It really does. Anyways, I got to wrap this up. Gone way over time. So Jeff, I do appreciate you coming by. Flamo, always a pleasure. I'm glad you're continuing with your reading and stuff like that. Christopher Green, thanks for popping by. Kimomaki, everybody else, Bibble, Lopec1, thank you very much again for the super chats there. And yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. I got a stream on Friday, so make sure that you're subscribing to the Non Sequitur show. King Crocodux will be there. It's going to be brutal. Like I said, I might have a special guest.
Today is Friday.
No, not Friday. I'm sorry, Saturday. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. You're right. Thank you. See, this is how you correct somebody. Thank you. It's tomorrow afternoon. Assuming that he can make it.
Hey, hold on. Hashtag Steve was wrong.
God damn it. Again? Shit. But yeah, I'm working on some, like I said, a special guest, but I don't know if they can make it, but we'll see. All right, guys, I'm going to end this. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, share the videos, and all that happy horse shit. And again, I appreciate your patronage. I appreciate your super chats, and I just appreciate you watching. All right, cool. Good night.
Cool. Bye bye.